Now that we've returned to business after our shelter in place due to COVID-19, we need to make sure that our initial sales conversations are more impactful. So today in this video, I'm going to take you through a technique that would help you to have a better result to lead you to sales after your initial sales conversation. Sales is one of the most vital things for an entrepreneur in their business. And it can be quite hard to create these sales, the sales revenue for your organization, as well as intimidating. Hopefully by the end of this video, I'll provide to you a safe way, a comfortable way for you to have an initial conversation with your customer or client so that it will lead to more sales in the long run. But before we get started, I'd like to ask you to subscribe to my channel and make sure that you click the bell to be notified when I post a video every Tuesday. With that said, let's get started. So as we spoke about in our last video, understanding your customer's buying process, we talked about different stages that our customers went through when they are looking to acquire a service or a product. The conversation that we're having today will take place during the needs issues phase of the buying process. As a consultative salesperson, your job is to talk to the customer and find out what their needs and issues are and be able to position yourself to help them with their business challenges. The way that you do this is by asking them questions. Ask them questions and you listen, take notes, and let them speak about themselves, their business, their successes, and their challenges. So if we're asking them questions, we need to know specifically what types of questions to ask. And there are 4 of them. These 4 types of questions are fact-based questions, issue-based questions, consequence-based questions, and opportunity-based questions. We're going to dive into each one of those now. The fact-based question is usually the first question that's asked in a conversation. This question helps to understand the situation, the facts that are going on within your customer or client's organization. And they're usually information, it's usually information that you're trying to uncover that you weren't able to find out when you were doing your initial research about them, their organization, their company. Some examples of these types of questions are: what are your goals for your organization in the next 2 to 3 years? Why did you decide to make the acquisition last time? What were some of the determining factors? What are your business objectives for this year? How are you currently doing XYZ? These types of questions gets the customer talking and actually relaxes them as you're having a conversation with you, and they'll want to share more information with you. The next type of question is your issue-based question. This type of question probes to see if there's an issue or a need within your customer's organization. This type of question probes to see if there is a need or an issue that your customer has. To use this type of question effectively, you need to use the research that you initially did to craft your questions to find out if there's more of an issue or a need around that particular item that you found. In addition to your research, you'll also use the answers that you received from your fact-based questions to craft your questions for issues. Example of a issue-based question may sound something like this. You stated your objective for the first year was XYZ. Do you see anything that may hinder you from accomplishing that? Another example may be, are you experiencing any issues with conducting XYZ? As you're asking these questions, don't just limit it to your customer. Also ask questions that may revolve around their customers or their competitors. So an example of a question may sound like, do your customers have a problem or an issue with? Is your competitor causing any problems for you? These types of questions work best if they're open-ended questions. However, sometimes you will have to ask close-ended questions, yes/no questions, in order to dive a little bit deeper and get context. The open-ended questions, however, will get your customer talking And that's what you want them to do, because the answers that they provide to you based off of your issue-based questions will help you to create your next set of questions, your consequence questions. Consequence questions are the questions that are least used by sales individuals, however, are the most impactful. Consequence-based questions ask your prospect or customer about the consequence or ramifications of not taking action on fixing their issue or need. To use consequence questions effectively, you need to take the answers from your issue-based questions and ask the customer how it will impact them if they don't take action on that particular item. Consequence-based questions are really effective because it gets the customer thinking about the particular issue that has come to light and how it could affect their business in a negative aspect. That's what these questions are about. And it generally gets the customer to the point where they have now thought about it, to the point that they want to take action on fixing that particular issue or addressing that particular need. It takes a lot of thought and energy to craft these questions because, like I said earlier, it's built off of the answers that you received initially from the issue-based questions. So some examples of consequence-based questions could sound like this. You stated earlier that your business objective for this year was to accomplish 1, 2, 3. However, you see that the COVID-19 could really impact and hinder you obtaining that objective this year. What could happen within your organization or your business if you're not able to accomplish that objective? Another example may sound like you stated earlier that the pandemic has really impacted your business negatively and you had to pay overtime to the limited number of employees that you were able to retain. How has that impacted your current budget that you agreed upon at the beginning of the year? Both of those examples were tied around COVID-19, but you want to make sure that you position your questions around whatever it is that your business, product, or service will be able to address for the customer. As I stated earlier, you also want to make sure you ask questions around your customer's customer or your competitor. So an example of those questions may sound like this. You stated earlier that it was difficult with the reduced amount of manpower to consistently meet your customers' deadlines. What is the consequence of not meeting your customer deadline? What type of impact could that have on your business? Do you think that your customer would research a competitor and try them as an alternative? As you can see, these questions too are open-ended questions. This is a great opportunity for you to ask the question, listen, and take notes. They will eventually, based off of these questions, convince themselves that this is something urgent that they need to take care of. A word of caution about asking consequence-based questions. You want to make sure that you're asking just enough of these questions to get the customer to that point where they're like, yes, I need to handle this issue. We need to take action on this particular issue. You don't want to ask so many questions, so many consequence questions, to the point that your customer becomes irritated, agitated, or decides they don't want to continue with the conversation. So you have to ask just the right amount of these type of questions and pay attention to their body language to know that they want to move forward and address this issue, or listen for the cues of them saying that they need to take action. If you feel that you've asked a lot of consequence-based questions and they aren't quite ready to take action on the issue in which you're discussing with them, your opportunity-based questions are sure to get them to that point. Let's talk about that next. Opportunity-based questions can be kind of tricky. If you remember back to Selling Tips for Entrepreneur video, which I'll link above if you had not had the opportunity to see it, we were talking about the different phases of the customer buying process. Remember that we were saying that a customer in this phase, in the needs issues phase of the buying process, the customer is solely focused in on their needs and their issues, not on what you have and what you can do at this point. So with opportunity-based questions, we need to ask questions to get the customer to see the brighter side of things if they were to address their issue or their need, but not talk about our product specifically, but we want to ask questions to lead them to what our solution would be able to provide for them, how it will positively impact their business. So some examples may sound like this. If you were able to accomplish XYZ, 1, 2, 3, how would that positively impact your budget? Or if you could do ABC, how would that benefit your customers? How would you be seen in your market or your industry? One other question that a lot of salespeople miss out on that allows you to stretch the limits of these particular questions and tap into other resources is asking the question, who else would benefit from this issue being resolved? That is another question that really gets your customer thinking that it's not just them, but it may be someone else, some other department that could benefit from this opportunity, this issue being addressed. So you may have noticed that all these questions were positive in nature, and they were all open-ended questions. No closed-ended questions. No questions that say, do you think this would work for you? Do you think this is beneficial? It's just a yes/no question. We want the customer to talk, to convince themselves that this is something that they need to do. They will hear it in their subconscious and want to take action. At this point, your customer should be more than ready to move forward and take action to address their issue or their need. So this now moves them into the investigating phase of the buying process. To help you be more effective with your initial sales conversation, I've created a handy guide for you to be able to craft your questions based off of the research that you found when you were looking into your particular customer. I've placed a link to the guide down below in the description. Don't forget to take a look at it. On another note, I'd like to invite you to join the Executive Lounge. This is a Facebook group that I've put together of executive entrepreneurs for us to network and share our successes and challenges. In order to join the Executive Lounge, I've also placed that link down below in the description as well. Well, thank you so much for watching my video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe down below, and share it with a friend. Also, don't forget to check out these videos next to continue with your business success. Thanks again for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.